If you're Spider-Man, you're a hero, but you don't start out that way. Behind the mask is the face of a teenage kid who can barely drive a car. Thrust into life and death situations even adults would struggle to cope with. You start out as a kid who's a little awkward, a little nerdy, and a little too smart. Smart enough to get into a special school for brainy science kids. You're the quintessential high school nerd. Smart, kind, driven, and crushing on a girl you don't think you can get. So when you get bitten by a radioactive spider and can suddenly climb on walls, you start using these powers to help people around town. But what doesn't change, even when you get powers, is that you're still a teenage kid whose biggest worry is running into your crush in the hallway at school. What you don't realize at first is what being a hero actually means. You start out with small stuff. Stop a mugging here, save a cat stuck in a tree over there, that sort of thing. It's a rush even. Instead of heading home to do homework after school, you're swinging through the streets until dark, being the friendly neighborhood hero around town. You're calling yourself Spider-Man, but you still have a lot to learn. Stuff even a full-fledged superhero like Iron Man can't teach you. At first, your biggest problem is just keeping your powers hidden from your family, friends, and classmates. That way, you can protect those you care about while also making sure no one, like Aunt May, can tell you to stop putting yourself in danger to help those around town. You're living in the best of both worlds. You're doing good deeds and helping people throughout the city, and then you can settle back into your normal life. One minute you're rescuing a store owner from a robbery, the next you're heading to second period to take a math exam. The problem is, you eventually have to face big boy villains, more powerful than a burglar at the corner store. Villains who aren't afraid to destroy cities and the lives of people who get in the way. Not until the moment you come face to face with these villains do you really get a taste of what being a superhero means. And you're not sure you like it. The fun and games are over when a guy starts throwing buses around, and you're the only one who can stop him. It is in these moments that we see what's behind the mask, the version of you that reminds us that even with powers, you're still a teenage boy who hasn't started shaving yet. In these life or death moments, your fear, your indecisiveness, and the fact that you're out of your depth become apparent, and the fact that you're still capable of making mistakes. Unfair or not, these moments force you to grow up more quickly than most kids your age. You realize that your actions can have extreme consequences and that you hold lives in your hands. And you have to live with the fact that sometimes you can't save everyone or fix everything. You're doing your best, one decision at a time, but it weighs on you. It's a heavy burden to bear for a high school kid, but this is what you want, to do good. As you continue to fight villains, you're still trying to have a somewhat normal life. But especially after you've lost most of the Avengers team, you have big shoes to fill. You're a teenager after all. You're trying to get into a good college. You have a girl who you're falling for. You're trying to juggle superhero duties, which are growing more and more demanding, and having a normal life at school. You have a lot going on. But all that has to come to a halt when a supervillain shows up. That's when you learn another big lesson on your path to becoming a hero. It always requires sacrifice. As more people in your life find out your identity and get involved, you begin to put those close to you in danger unintentionally. And unfortunately, someone always gets caught in the crossfire. This is when you realize that as long as you are Spider-Man, those you love will always be in danger. Now you have to make perhaps the most challenging decision of your life. Do you keep endangering those you love or let them go? For a long time, you managed to keep the fabric of your life together, even as a superhero. But those rose-colored glasses shatter once you lose someone close. You finally recognize that as Spider-Man, you don't have a chance at being normal ever again. And not just because you have powers. It's because now there are villains that seek you out, and you're the only one who can stop them. You have a duty to protect strangers. You once dreamed of going to college, becoming a scientist, having a family. When you were younger, you thought you could do both. Lead a normal life, fall in love, settle down, and be Spider-Man. Now you realize that was simply a pipe dream. You have to weigh your dreams against those around you and decide what you're willing to do for those you love, those who still have a chance at a normal life if you're not in it. The people who are begging to stay in your life and help, but who would be left in danger if they did. Just as you're on the cusp of adulthood, you learn the most valuable aspect of being a hero: selflessness. As painful as it is for you to give up the life you know, you make the most mature decision you ever have. You let go. As you place distance between yourself and those you love, you truly feel the isolation that comes with being Spider-Man. Romance isn't meant for heroes, because one day you'll be forced to choose. The loneliness is a burden no one else can understand. Well, except other superheroes. As you let go, you still see that teenage kid, the one who likes science labs and Star Wars, peeking out behind the hardened expression of a superhero who's endured a lot of grief. The pain of loss is there, but there is also peace with making a decision to protect those you love. As all heroes eventually must, you know that you must walk your path alone. This is the moment when you truly become a full-fledged hero. Not because of how many villains you've taken down, but because of the difficult decisions you've made to protect those you love, and to sacrifice your own happiness for the strangers who depend on you. Now, you look much less like a bumbling teenager with web shooters trying to figure out how to aim. Your training and experience has paid off. You've learned a lot of lessons along the way and made plenty of mistakes, and the path forward still isn't easy. You will have to carry the world on your shoulders, alone. That's what you get in exchange for having cool abilities. And yet, you're still in some ways just a teenager from Queens, one with a good heart trying to help people. Sure, some things have gotten more complicated, but you're still just trying to do the next right thing. It's a hard life ahead of you, fraught with danger and life-altering decisions that you'll have to make and live with. But it's the life you chose for the good of humanity.